trying to get enough support to pass the bill. Right now, there are several holdouts, but critics say all Republicans need to get on board and give American taxpayers a break.
I think it's a game they're playing in order to try to provide for themselves an excuse as to why they're not really just to say, let's cut taxes, let's reform this thing. People want it done. They want it done now.
For more on this, I'm joined by Mark Lauder, former press secretary to Vice President Pence. Also, Lynda Tran, former communications director for Governor Tim Kaine, a Democratic strategist and founding partner of 270 Strategies. Thanks, both of you, for being here. Mark, to you first. You are the communications director. If you were up there on Capitol Hill or at the White House trying to sell this thing, how would you sell it to the American voters?
It's very simple. You remind the American voters that the average family of four making around $60,000 a year in America is going to receive anywhere between a $1,200 and $1,500 tax cut starting next year when this goes into effect. And you also remind them that when we reform the business taxes and cut business taxes, you're going to create millions of new jobs, you're going to have new investment, and it's going to propel an economic growth in America.
If that is the case, Lynda, then why are more Republicans not jumping on board?
Well, we've seen a lot of analysis out there that actually suggests that this is going to hurt working people, working families in particular, a great deal and in the near future. In fact, this week, the Congressional Budget Office put out a report that you've seen reported quite widely that shows that this would increase the deficit overall by $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years and hurt working people the most, people making under $30,000 a year by 2019 alone. So the deal that we're talking about here has been described by several nonpartisan organizations as a bad deal for working people, and that's a real challenge.
Is that bad math, Mark, or is there a possibility here that this thing is not going to have the effects that are envisioned?
No, this is absolutely bad math. It's another example of the CBO not understanding how Obamacare works. They've been wrong before. They're wrong again here. I mean, this is a case of cutting taxes. A lot of these analysis are using the fact that because of arcane Senate budget rules that some of the tax cuts have to be temporary. But as we've seen before, Congress will extend those tax cuts long term. It provides meaningful tax cuts to low-income Americans, middle-income Americans. And let's just call it what it is on the face of this. The Obamacare tax that this bill would repeal in the Senate, 80% of the tax penalty goes to people who are making under $50,000 a year. The only thing this bill does is say that if you want to make the decision not to have health care, you can do it without being taxed. If you want health care, you can still get it through the Obamacare exchanges. You can still get your tax credits. You can still get the subsidies. But somehow the CBO doesn't understand how to score that.
Lynda, why are no Democratic senators, at least publicly, talking about getting on board with this thing?
Well, I think Democratic senators are extremely concerned not only about what the CBO analysis showed, but also the Tax Policy Center, the JCC. There are lots of organizations that have shown that this is going to be problematic for working people. And in fact, there was a survey conducted by the University of Chicago that showed that an overwhelming majority of economists from across the country believe that not only is this going to be bad for working people, it's going to be bad for the economy over the long run. So there are a lot of reasons why Democratic leaders in Congress are not interested in being a part of this deal.
The voting is pretty tight on the Republican side. Mark, are they going to get it across the finish line?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that they're going to get it across the finish line. There will be a bill on the president's desk by Christmas. It will be a great Christmas present to the American people. And again, it means for the average family of four about $1,200 to $1,500 tax cut starting next year, and it will propel growth, increase revenues. We've seen it done under President Reagan and many other presidents. We're going to see it again under President Trump.
All right, but very quickly, Lynda, you think if it's passed, if your math holds, you think that voters are going to punish Republicans at the polls next year?
Well, voters have been very clear. They're not interested in a tax cut for corporations. They're not interested in seeing the super wealthy in this country get wealthier at their own expense. And they're very concerned about what this tax plan will do to their own individual finances. So this is a potential serious liability for Republicans heading into an election year.
Lynda Tran, Mark Lauder, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A Fox News alert, and Fox News has confirmed top Democrats in Congress are